All right, let's dive right into this explainer. I want to speak directly to the high-achieving professional right now. You absolutely know who you are. You're disciplined, you're driven, and honestly, you might be quietly, persistently exhausted. Today, we're going to unpack exactly what you're experiencing and figure out how to completely redesign your operating system, using some seriously brilliant insights from Jan Mauro's book, The Hidden Burnout.
So, tell me, are you still delivering but running completely empty? Is this you? Because I'm willing to bet your inner monologue is saying something like, well, I'm not sobbing in my car, in the parking lot, and I haven't missed a single deadline, so I must be fine. But let's be real for a second. You're surviving on inertia rather than actual energy. You're moving simply because you have always moved. You perform because, well, performance is just what you do.
And this quote right here brilliantly illustrates the trap we fall into. Other people's worse is not your fine. High achievers constantly use this comparison trap to invalidate their own exhaustion. You tell yourself that because you aren't an emergency room doctor working 90-hour weeks, you just don't have the right to be tired. But guess what? Suffering isn't ranked globally. That habit of minimizing your own experience, that's not resilience. It's actually one of the very things that got you to this point of exhaustion in the first place.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to cover the high achiever's trap, the invisible energy drain, a 30-day reset protocol, setting professional boundaries, and finally, building a new operating system. Let's start with Section 1, the high achiever's trap. What's absolutely fascinating and a little scary is that your very best traits are actually creating a massive structural vulnerability. Notice these stark contrasts here. When we hear the word burnout, we usually picture a visible collapse, completely unable to function. But hidden burnout is an entirely different beast. Your output remains completely intact. It's like a fire has been burning inside for a long time. But from the outside, the building still looks perfectly normal. You're still delivering, sure, but it's costing you considerably more than it used to. Let's anchor your experience with this exact definition from the source. Hidden burnout is exactly this: progressive resource depletion where you remain totally capable, but your internal reserves are critically low. High achievers actually learn to separate their external performance from how they actually feel inside. You've practiced overriding fatigue so well that routing past your own distress signals has just become an automatic habit.
So, what does this look like in real life? What are the warning signs? Well, maybe you sleep, but you wake up exhausted. Or you have what's called emotional blunting, where the volume dial on your positive emotions just gets turned way down. Maybe it's that intense Sunday dread, or perhaps you're noticing cognitive gaps, like forgetting details you ordinarily wouldn't. Listen to me on this. Treating these symptoms as normal is incredibly dangerous. This is a clear normalization of a dysregulated nervous system. Your body knows you're burned out, even if your mind won't admit it yet. Moving on to Section 2, the invisible energy drain. Because here is a foundational truth we need to accept. Burnout does not track your calendar commitments. Burnout tracks your total load. Think of your energy like 4 interconnected bank accounts. Physical energy is the absolute foundation. If that's overdrawn, everything else crashes. Emotional energy is drained heavily by things like regulating your reactions. Cognitive energy is depleted by continuous, unbroken focus. And relational energy is spent managing interpersonal dynamics. When you have hidden burnout, you are withdrawing from all 4 of these accounts simultaneously, every single day.
It's time for a quick energy audit. Your visible demands are pretty obvious, right? Meetings, emails, project deadlines. But look at the hidden killers here. Invisible withdrawals, like ambient decision-making, background processing of problems, and values friction, which is when your work conflicts with your core values. These are continuous, massive, unmeasured drains on your system that will literally never show up on your calendar. And driving those drains are 5 hidden drivers that no one really talks about. Maybe your self-worth is totally tied to your achievements, or you're constantly context switching, bouncing from high-level strategy to an overflowing inbox. But I want to pay special attention to the last one, the meaning deficit. This happens when the connection between your effort and your purpose breaks. When the work stops mattering to you, even totally manageable tasks start to feel devastatingly heavy. All right, Section 3, the 30-day reset protocol. And here's the best part. This doesn't require you to go on some 3-week silent retreat in the woods. This is a practical, everyday prescription of adjustments that you can make right now within your current, demanding life.
First things first, you've got to shift your mindset. We aren't trying to build a better, faster machine here. We're trying to find the hammock. Do not turn your recovery into just another perfectionist performance project. You don't need a perfectly optimized 5 a.m. wellness routine. You just need to pursue sufficiency.
adequate rest is enough. And frankly, you're going to have to learn to tolerate the guilt of perceived unproductiveness. When you finally sit down to rest, your brain is going to scream that you're falling behind. You have to rest anyway. Here's how the protocol maps out. Week 1 is all about triage and load reduction. Literally, find one thing to stop doing and set a hard end to your workday. Week 2 focuses entirely on sleep architecture. You set a non-negotiable sleep window because, let's be honest, you cannot think your way out of a physiological deficit. Week 3 is about addressing your specific primary driver, the ones we just talked about. And week 4 is integration, where you set minimum recovery floors, like a baseline of disconnection that you absolutely will not drop below.
Which brings us to Section 4, setting professional boundaries. And we need to reframe this right now. We need to look at boundaries not as some soft, gentle self-care concept, but as rigorous, structural professional architecture. I absolutely love this distinction. Most people completely confuse refusals with boundaries. A refusal is reactive. It sounds like, I can't meet on Friday morning. It feels personal, and it naturally invites the other person to negotiate with you or push back. But a boundary? A boundary is structural and proactive. It sounds like, I protect my Friday mornings for deep work. Do you see the difference there? A boundary is an operational statement about how you work best. It doesn't invite pushback. It commands respect.
So let's break down your protective structure step by step. Step 1, time architecture. Choose exactly where you are going to protect your highest cognitive energy during the week. Step 2, communication norms. Set explicit response times so you aren't trapped in this endless cycle of near instantaneous replies. Step 3, load management. Rigorously audit your current commitments before you ever say yes to a new one. And that brings us to our final section, a new operating system. I want to make this exceptionally clear. The goal of this explainer is not to just return you to the exact same old state that burned you out in the first place. The goal is to build a brand new, highly sustainable architecture for your life. These 5 pillars are what form that new system. Recovery is no longer an afterthought you squeeze it on the weekend, it's a design requirement. You practice selective commitment. Deep work is fiercely protected. And notice that meaning alignment is actively maintained. You don't just assume your work will always be meaningful, you actually audit it. Finally, you make deliberate relational investments because the people in your life are genuine resources and connections, not just obligations. We constantly confuse tolerance with resilience. Tolerance is just gritting your teeth and enduring adverse conditions. It's white-knuckling through the week. Resilience is entirely different. It's the actual structural capacity to recover from adversity. Most high-performance environments trick people into building tolerance when they actually think they're building resilience. But here's the truth. Genuine resilience requires built-in restoration. So I'm going to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative question. Are you building resilience right now, or are you just building tolerance? Take a really hard look at your own operating system. It's time to stop performing the absence of struggle, and it is time to take the first real step toward genuine recovery. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.